multiplexings, and we have seen some examples of TDMs, digital carrier systems, DS, some hierarchy in US and some hierarchy in other than US ITU-T standard. We have seen this, and also we have seen another TDM systems in optical networks, that's synchronous optical network SONET or SDH. We have seen different SONET levels, right? STS1, STS3, etc. And in other than US, it is SDH, synchronous digital hierarchy. And that times they are labeled as STM0, STM1, like this thing, synchronous transport module. STM means synchronous transport module.
My name is Nandev Reddy, sir.
Yes.
I'm 2020 pass out. I'm from ECE. I'm planning to go for higher studies for.
Right. And let us take an examples of these things, TDM systems, where both analog and digital sources are considered. That will be much more better for understandings of TDM's data rate, generation of TDM data rate. So let us take an examples of that is given in the book also. Suppose there are 11 sources are there. 11 sources are there. Out of these 11 sources, three of them are analog signals. Three analog sources. Analog sources, and remaining eight digital sources are there. Digital also we'll see pulse trapping that we have seen last times. Sources, 8 digital sources are there, 3 analog sources are there. Let us see how we can generate the TDM signals. So if analog signals are there, that are to be converted into digital ones. So by using PCM, etc., those techniques, PCM techniques. So you see, there are say 3 sources, 3 analog sources. Each of one is 2 of them 2 kilowatts. One of them is 4 kilowatts. This one. This one, the source 1. This is the source source 1. It is 2 kilohertz. 2 kilohertz analog. 2 kilohertz analog. Right. Another one is source 2. This is 4 kilohertz. 4 kilohertz, that is analog. Analog, and another one is 3, source 3. It is 2 kilohertz. 2 kilohertz. So analog. Right. So there are 3 sources. 3 sources. One is 2 kilohertz, another 4 kilohertz, and 2 kilohertz. Right. And there are 8 digital sources are there. So each of one is 7.2 kbps. So source 4 is 4, is 5, is 5. This way you get up to S11. S11. They are of 7.2 kbps. All are 7.2 kbps. Okay. So what will be the TDM data rate? How will generate the TDM signals? So you need to have this scanning device. And this is this one. This is two, and this is three. Three. Scanning frequency is F. So, so you have to convert this analog to digital, and this can be done using PCM. And according to PCM, in PCM, sampling theorem is used. So signal will be sampled equal to the twice the bandwidth of the signal. So if the sampling, so what will be the sampling rate? So in this case, it will be 4 kilohertz, it will be 8 kilohertz, and it will be, sampling rate will be bandwidth is twice the bandwidth. So you see, it will be 4,000 samples per second sampling rate. It will be 8,000 samples per second, and it will be again 4,000 samples per second, right? For source 2. So the samples, these samples after sampling, but these are not the digital ones. This will be the analog samples. Again, you have to use some beats. 4 beat, it can be 8 beat, like these things, right? So these pulse samples can be after sampling. These pulse samples can should be digitized or quantized, right? Say if the 3 sources are multiplexed as a unit, then you see how it can be done. If the scan rate, if you just consider the scan rate is 4 kilohertz. If you consider the scan rate, it is F equal to 4 kilohertz. F 4 kilohertz, right? And then you see one sample, the other 2 kilohertz. One sample, if you take it from source 1 sample is taken from source 3, and 2 samples from source 2, right? And these 4 samples are interleaved. If the 4 samples, so 1 sample from this one sample from this one, and 2 samples from this source 2. So there will be 4 samples. 4 samples will be there. 4 samples. And if you use the 4-bit PCM, 4-bit PCM, then you see 4-bit PCM, that means 16-bit will be generated. So 16-bit will be 16 kilo samples. Here it will be so 16K samples will be there. $16K samples will be there, and if you use 4-bit per samples, 4-bit A by T, samples are analog, so you have to quantize it. So if you use the 4-bit quantizations, then you see that will be the bit rate will be TDM signals, that will be 64 kbps. It will be 64 kbps. So this is actually your TDM PCM signals. TDM, PCM signals. For these three sources. So for the three sources, you see it is 64 kbps. Now, if you now you consider the digital sources. From the digital sources, you see, the 7.2 kbps, you have to use the pulse tapping. So if you use the pulse tappings, it can be raised to a rate of 8 kbps. So using pulse tapping, pulse tapping, you see. All will be of 8 kbps using pulse tapping, and and if they are the aggregate total aggregate data rate will be through the scan operations. You see. This is one digital source of 64 kbps. Next one is 8 kbps. This is 8 kbps. This is also 8 kbps. So consider this 11. Sorry, 11, 8. So 8 kbps of 8. Total 11. 8 sources for having 7.2 kbps, and here 3 analog sources. Out of 3 analog sources, one is 4 kilowatt, other 2 are 2 kilowatts. So here we are getting 64 kbps, then 8 kbps for 8, it is also 64 kbps. The total digital sources. So once again, you see there depends on the number of sources, number of analog digital sources. If analog sources are there, then you have to convert it into digital signals through PCM. The sampling theorem, you have to use the sampling theorems. The sampling theorem first they will be sampled from the sampling theorems. Next you have to use the quantizations or using 4-bit or 8-bit. Then you'll get these ones. And if you have non-decimal numbers, the data rate for digital sources, then you have to use the pulse tapping. So using pulse tappings, you can have these the data rate for each sources, and the total data sources. Now you can have it. After this kind of operations, you will get the TDM, PCM output signals. So this is an examples of the TDM, how TDM signal is generated from analog and digital sources. Have you followed, or if you have any questions, you can ask regarding these TDM signal generations. If you have, yes?
Followed, sir.
Okay. Next, you see in this TDM, if you see it, I told you several times, you see time slots are dedicated for each sources. Whether the source is emitting or not, and the source is say source is sending data or transmitting data or not, the slot is reserved. So many of the time slots are wasted if the source is not transmitting. Right. Since that time slots are dedicated, so you see simply there will be a wastage of resources because of this reserved time slots. This problem can be overcome if you consider the statistical TDMs or intelligent TDM systems. Statistical TDMs or intelligent TDM systems or asynchronous TDMs, you can say. In this case, how that problem is overcome? Actually, in this case, time slots are not reserved. Rather, they are actually dynamically allotted. Here, time slots are dynamically allotted to improve the bandwidth efficiency. So in this case, in statistical TDMs, you see number of slots always will be less than the number of input lines, number of input sources. So if K is the time slots, if K represents the time slots, and N represents the input lines, then in the statistical TDMs, it is K less than N. That is the conditions here. So here actually what it does in statistical, what the multiplexer does here. Here the multiplexer checks each input line in a round robin fashions. If a source is transmitting, it has a data, or if a source or any input line has a data to send, then a slot is allocated to that particular source, particular lines. But if it will not allocate the time slot if it is not sending the data. So at that time it will skip the line and it will check the next lines, right? So you see, one thing you can say here actually in statistical TDMs, it considers, what does it consider? It considers the fact that all the sources are not emitting at a times, right? So the data rate, in this case, data rate of the multiplexed lines always will be less than the total data rate of the attached devices. But that is not the case for TDMs. We have seen it. Multiplexed data rate will be greater than or at least equal to the data rate, sum of the data rate of the sources that are to be transmitted. Right. So that is the main difference in this case. So what are the things considered in statistical TDMs? In statistical TDMs, there is no reserved time slots. That is there in synchronous TDMs. Synchronous TDMs, reserved time slots are there for each input lines, whether that line is transmitting data or not. Right. But so if the input line, a particular line is not transmitting data, then that since time slot is reserved, so simply there will be a wastage of resources, right? But that problem can be overcome in statistical TDMs. Here, the time slots are allotted in dynamical fashion. When if a source has a data to send, then only time slot would be allotted to it. Otherwise, it will multiplexer will check the input lines in round robin fashions. If it will allocate a particular slot for a particular lines if it has data to send. Otherwise, it will just skip the line and it will check the next lines. So you see, that is the thing, that is the fact. So we can say here in statistical TDMs, one thing you must keep in mind, here it can support more devices than the, it can support more devices, than the synchronous TDMs, right? And also the data rate will be data rate of the multiplexed line in this case is less than the total data rate of the attached devices. That's it. So now just take an example, it will be more clear. If you see with synchronous TDMs and statistical TDMs. Suppose there are 4 input lines are there and there are 4 times epochs are there. Right. So let us say A, B, A, C, D. A, B, C, D. There are 4 input lines are there, and you see the 4 lines are there, and there are 4 time epochs are there. Say this is T0, this is T0, next it is T1, T1, next it is T2, this is T2, this is T3, there is T4. This is T4. So you see T1 minus T0 one period, and the T2 minus T1, T3 minus T2, T4 minus T3. So there are 4 time epochs are there. They are input lines, or you can say users, right? And they are connected to a remote computers to the scanner positions. This is connected to remote computer. Okay. So here you see in this period T1 minus T is the first time epoch. Say A has data to send, and next time it has no data. Next again in this T4 minus T3 in this period it has data to send. Now B it has data to send in this period, transmitting data in this period, also in this period. C transmitting data in this period and in this period, and D transmitting data in this period. Right. So what will be the if you consider these things, this scenario, for these things, what will be the synchronous TDMs, time frames, synchronous TDM frames? For synchronous TDMs, you see, so in the first cycles, the first time epoch, if you see, so in the first cycles, since here each time slots is reserved for a particular time slots are reserved for each sources. Time slot reserved for time source for each sources. So you see, this is for the first time of epoch. Say there are 4 cycles are there. So in the first cycle, say this is A1, this is B1. This is B1, this is C1, this is D1. This is for the first cycles. First cycles. Here in the first cycle, you can see it. Here A and B, they have data to send. So these are actually filled. These time slots are filled. These time slots are filled. But these 2 time slots are empty, so they are not assigned. But still, it is to be reserved. The next cycles, you see it. The next cycles, second cycles. Second cycle, you see A has no data to send, blank. B has data to send. This is A2 actually, A2. This is B2. B2. So this time it is filled with data. B2. C2 also filled with data. But D2 is blank. D2 is blank. So it is quite clear now. See how the TDM frames are generated in this case. So here you see these 2 slots are filled, but these 2 slots are empty, and because there is no data for transmissions in this case. First cycles. Second cycles, here you see it has no data to send, it has no data to send, but still the time slots are reserved, A2 and D2. Similarly, for third epoch, fourth epoch, etc., these things will go on, right? These things are there. Now, if you do the same things for, if you see the same things for statistical TDMs, statistical TDMs, you see here. The first cycles only which sources are emitting data, A and B. So time slots will be allocated to them only. But here you see some overhead will be there for each sources. So this is you see this is A1, B1, the field data, B1. So this is for fast cycles. In the second cycle, this is fast cycle. In the second cycles, you see, second cycle it is B. This is B. Second cycle, so B2 and C2. The term two time slots will be allocated. B2. Next is C2. B2, C2. Plus in this way, capacity available. So extra capacity available for future time periods, right? So that is, you see, this is for statistical TDMs. So in this case, you see here, you see, if you consider these things, two of the four time slots, in this case, two of the four time slots are empty in the fast cycles, right? But in this case, you see, in statistical multiplexings, it does not send the empty time slots. There is no empty time slots in this case. You can see it. It will not provide. It will not send the time slots if there is no data to send. So during fast epoch, during fast epoch means T1 to T0 fast epoch, you see only slots A and B are sent, right? But here see, it may not be A and B. It can be say B C or B D or can be A C, like these things. So so some you see in course of times, you see it is not known in which slots which sources data is present. So for that purpose, so address information is required. Some address information must be there to ensure the proper delivery. So there will be, in this case, statistical multiplexings. One advantage you can have it, there will be no empty time slot, but one disadvantage is there will be more overhead. Overhead will be there. That will contain the address information. So in this case, you need address informations. Address informations must be there to ensure the delivery. Of course, here you see this overhead bits can be minimized to improve the throughput. This overhead, this you see, overhead must be there. The overhead it is required for address informations, but this overhead again, so extra capacity will be needed for the CPU overhead is here. But this can be minimized if HDLC protocol is followed. So generally, statistical TDMs, they use statistical TDM systems. It uses the synchronous protocol like HDLC. HDLC. So you see how this this overhead is minimized in statistical TDMs. Following it follows. It uses the HDLC protocols. And HDLC protocols, you see, very similar to HDLC protocols. So there'll be, you see, there'll be flag. We have seen it, flag. Next, there'll be address. Next, there'll be controls. Control. And next, there'll be statistical TDMs subframes. Subframes. Next, there will be FCS, there will be flag. Well, these subframes, it is for if it is for one source per frames, then these subframes it contains this one address, next data. That is the subframes. This one subframe. Subframe when only one source per frame is used. One frame, one source per frames. But you see that is for heavy load. It will be inefficient. So generally, multiple sources are used. So in that case, an extra subfield is required. That is address, one will be length, next data. That is for one source. Similarly, you have multiple sources are there, then be another such subframes will be there for address, next length, next data. So this is for subframes. These are the subframes for multiple sources. Multiple sources. So you can see it here. When multiple, so if one source of data is inputted per frames, then you see it will be inefficient for heavy load conditions. So multiple sources generally consider multiple data sources are integrated in a single frames. So in that case, when multiple sources are involved, that times the length of the subframes is important. Right. So one extra subfield will be there that will indicate the length of the data field, right? And each level with an address. So in this case, each level with an address and length. Other techniques are also there to make this approach more efficient. Say you have seen address. Generally, you have seen this HDLC protocol. It is 8-bit. Instead of 8-bit, instead of 8-bit, address field can be a 4-bit. It can be 4-bit also. A 4-bit can be used for address in this case to reduce the overhead. Another thing is this length field. You see, length field also can be 2 levels, 2-bit levels. Length field, there you see, like generally 1 octet you have seen this length field. Length field, it can be 2-bit. 2-bit, so 4 states will be there. So it can be 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, that indicates that the data field will be 1 byte or 2 byte or 3 1 byte, 2 byte or 3 bytes, right? And whenever it is 1, 1, that indicates that the length field is included. This indicate is the length field is included. So in this way, you see number of overhead can be reduced. Overhead. Why overhead is required? Because you see here time slots are allocated randomly, dynamically to the input lines. So you see the receiver will be confused if address is not there. Which time slot will be for which is allocated to which input lines. So for that, address information must be there. But for these things, statistical TDMs, it generally uses the HDLC protocols, having these subfields, flag, address, control, etc. It can be the data field can be for one substance for one sources, but that will also result the inefficiency. So to increase the efficiency, multiple subframes for multiple sources are used. So in that case, again, extra subfield length field will be added. And also by using this address bit, say 8 bit instead of 8 bit, it can be reduced to 4 bit, and the length field also can be 2 bit to indicate that 1 byte, 2 byte, 3 bytes, and if it is 1 that indicate the length field is included. So this is the most important multiplexing technique. We'll see modern modems. You'll see modems. You have seen these BSNL modems, ADSL modems, HDSL modems. Different modems are there. We'll see cable modems, etc. And all those cases, this statistical TDM is used, because you see here there will be no empty time slots. So, and it can adopt more devices compared to the synchronous TDMs. So today is this much. Since today you have a quiz, I'm not discussing more. But if you have any questions regarding the statistical TDMs, you can ask. This is the most important things, because further lectures will be based on these statistical TDMs. So unless you clear it, then different modems, we'll see cable modems, ADSL modems, and also discrete multitone modems, DMT modems, and other high data rate modems like XDSL. Actually, they are termed as XDSL, HDSL, SDSL, VDSL. So different modems are there. So those you'll see it. In those cases, statistical TDMs is used, not the synchronous TDMs. So any questions? If you have, you can do it. Any questions? Any questions regarding synchronous TDMs or statistical TDMs? Any questions? Any questions? कोई किसी क्वेश्चन तो पूछो. Anybody, if you have any questions? कोई किसी का क्वेश्चन है तो अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ. सब लोग सो गया क्या? कुछ तो बोलो. Yes or no?
No, sir. No question, sir.
Okay. Once again, I'm telling you this: the statistical TDM is the most important part of multiplexing, and because modern modems are based on this technology, statistical TDMs. Okay. Anyway, if you don't have questions, then I'm just stopping it here. Your quiz will be at 6:30. Okay.
Thank you, sir.